we're brought into part 3 of Father John Croiset's The Devotion to the Sacred Heart. Alright, so okay. Today is Quinquagesima Sunday, 2019. That's why I'm wearing a purple tie. I was gonna wear a yellow tie. I should show you something, shouldn't I? Alright, I will. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. When I said when I said hold on, I realized my dog understands certain things in English. So I have 2 closets, right? One of them is in my master bedroom. It's a nice walk-in. However, I have one right near the door, and so that's where I decided to keep this suit that I'm going to be wearing today. So so I said hold on, I mean talking to you, and he thought I was talking to somebody at the door. Isn't that funny how the dog knows? About 2 weeks ago, I got up, right? So I had the flu, so he got used to me waking up, going right to the Sacred Heart shrine. So I wake up, I let him sleep with me. I put a big blanket on the bed so that he doesn't dog up my bedding, even though I just had him cut down with his hair, bath, and everything, you know. So anyway, he jumps out of the bed, right? And he goes right over to the Sacred Heart Shrine and kneels in front of it, looking up at it. He's ready for me to come over there. I thought that was amazing. I took pictures of it. But everybody with whom I shared the pictures wasn't like, wow, that's amazing. They were like, that's cute. I'm like, you're missing the point. I think it's astounding. Nobody thought that. All right. So, I show you my suit. Now, what's nice about this suit? First of all, it's high quality wool, okay? What's nice about this suit is that I paid $1.50 for it. Okay? I'm tired of spending $4.50. Yeah, we'll get you this suit. We'll give you 2 for $900. You know, that's a savings of $300, guy. Keep your suits for $500. You know why? Because I go to the thrift store and I got this suit for $1.50. Now, I happened to get see, when I was stupid, in 2009, I retired from the police department, and I purchased 5 suits because I didn't know what career I would be doing. So I got a suit for every day of the week. And because I really never bought myself any nice clothes, you know, I was always buying things for everybody else, which is the truth of the matter. And I decided I was going to do something for myself. So in 2009, I went to Men's Warehouse in Menlo, New Jersey, and I spent approximately $2,500 on 5 brand new suits. But when I went in there, I you know, women have their people they go to for designing of homes and everything. I met one of the most talented, spiffy dressers who worked there. He was a black gentleman. His name was John, I think. I forget his name, but I wrote it down in my phone, and because he could tell you what looks best on what suit. He put out 5 ties and 5 silks. They call them silks, the things that go in your pocket. He'd say, I think this one goes best with your complexion. I mean, the guy was awesome. So, I mean, this guy was so good. So anyway, when I first met him, he said, well, I could get you two suits with this. You know, he goes, this particular brand suit, this is coming this month. You know, it's all sales stuff. We can get you 2 for the price of 1. And the cheapest suit was like $300, which today, if you can get a suit for $300, I mean, that's your basic suit. It's a wool suit. But A man's suit should be thick, and should have a shine to it, and it shouldn't have any marred surface. Like when you wear out a suit, you can see shininess where you sit down and where you rest your elbows and stuff like that. So that the better the quality of material, the less you're gonna have that problem. And even a great suit, if you should be rubbing the material up against tables and stuff like that, it gets worn out without holes or anything else. So eventually you got to toss it. Anyway, I go in there. He says, "I can get you this one, 2 for the price of 1." I said, "I don't need two suits." He says, "What?" I said, I don't need 2 suits. I just need 1. I'm dying. It's for my burial." He said, "Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry." I said, "I'm only kidding." He goes, "Don't do that to me, man." I said, "We're all dying. I didn't lie to you." I said, "Could it be for my burial?" I said, "It's not a lie. It could be." Anyway, I said, "Look, man, we do bury people in suits." I said, "All right, I'll take the 2 suits. I'm sorry." Anyway, you probably don't think that's funny. If you're a woman, you said that's bad. That's not good. A guy would laugh. I understand. It was bad and all that. I don't do that anymore. But if I do it, I make sure that it's not a lie. I'll say I'm dying. Which is, I mean, they're all dying. All right. You don't like it? All right, no problem. Yeah, you doing? No problem. Yeah. All right, so we got to get into the reading. Now, we have our notes set up. Nobody's joining me. Hello. Some funny things happening to me. Somebody just told me I was very intense with my customers. A woman told me I'm very intense. A colleague in the business that I do. She says, "You're very intense with your customers." She is waiting for somebody to pay her $4,000 for 6 months. I don't stand for that. So therefore, I'm intense with my customers for a reason, okay? And she has written it off. She has accepted it as a loss. I'm not losing $4,000. I'm going to be intense. You know what I'm saying? I work hard. And because she's not intense, that's why she's in arrears for $4,000. So the reason I'm intense is I come in there, and here's what I do. When everybody's friendly, "Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you," and everything like this. When money gets involved, things change. Give them a price that they don't like. "What?" Everything, "Hi, how are you? You like coffee? You like espresso, right? You're from New York, right? Let me get you some espresso." $4,000. What? What are you trying to rip me off? Get out of here. You got the espresso going. Espresso, not espresso. You got the espresso going. I thought we were friends. No, we're not friends. Nah. You're never friends with people that are paying you money. Because money breaks up friendships. It's unfortunate, but it's true. And there's something in the Proverbs about it, Why is that? Because here's the thing about money. People have money, and let's be honest. You're trying to get as much of that money out of their pocket as you possibly can without robbing them, right? And what are they trying to do? They are trying to hold on to as much money as they can without giving it to you. Already you got a problem. It's just, we smile when we do it. How you doing? Yeah. That'll be 3,000. 3,000. Why don't they just say fine? because they're trying to hold on to something that you're trying to take. So let's be honest. Money creates an adversarial situation. Now they expect to pay you something. And so some money is not causing the problem. It's the amount of money that you want, which is what causes the problem. And it's the amount of money they're looking to withhold from you that causes the problem in your head. So let's be honest, when you're dealing with customers, now whoever just joined on doesn't know the genesis of this conversation or this monologue. I was talking about a woman who said that I was very intense with my customers. And she stands in loss of $3,800 from one of her customers. And I stand in no loss, none whatsoever. Because I have a contract and I have come to realize that original sin has corrupted my customers. And it has also corrupted me. So to keep me fair, I write out what I'm going to do. And then I write out what I expect them to do. And guess what? I don't have problems. Because I come in and I'm like, okay, this is what it is. Actually, my personality is very friendly, so I'll joke with them. This is what I say when, hi, Spencer Colgan. Hi, do you do wallpaper? Yes, ma'am. Bah, 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 bah. So I'll say, she'll say, what is your name? I say, well, my legal name will be changing to wallpaper. What can I do for you? If she doesn't take that as a joke, I say, I'm only kidding. But usually they start hysterical laughing because they get it. Or they'll say, how much do you charge? Do you charge by the roll, the square footage? And I'll say, no. I say, what is your average annual income for your household? That is what I base my price on. 90% of them will go hysterical laughing, and they'll say, I don't make a lot of money, so you're out. So I'm friendly like that. But when I get to the house, I have to present to them the bad news. And the bad news is how much money I expect for them to take out of their bank account and hand it to me. And that's usually bad news for them. I just got, well, let's not say this online because, it would lack prudence. Anyway, do you like my tie? It's purple for Lent. Look at that. Okay, let me just show you. You got on, okay, you see this suit? All right, you see this? Just had it dry cleaned and pressed, right? Now, you can't see by but this is a high quality wool suit. You can generally tell the quality of a suit simply with your fingers. You feel it, you feel its thickness, and you feel the luster of the material. Now, you know a good suit because when you see it on a man, you know it's a good suit. There's a certain luster to the material. If it doesn't have a certain sheen to it, it's thin wool. It's not from a good part of the animal. But anyway, I featured this suit at the beginning of this video because I want to tell you that I'm not going to get all into it. I paid $1.50 for this suit. Bottom line, okay? $1.50 for this beautiful wool suit, and I shop at. I used to shop regularly at the thrift store, but I have enough suits because I like to go to mass in my suit, and I don't want to pay like during the week. I don't want to be like if the suit gets a little plaster on it because it's in my truck. Like I don't want to go. I paid $1 for it or whatever. Believe it or not. You can get a $350, $400 suit. I got a tuxedo for $6. I spent $100 getting it taken in, and so the girl at the dry cleaner, she goes, "What are you gonna do with this tux?" I said, "Well, I'm waiting to go to the orchestra." I said, "I haven't gone yet." So she says, "What's the orchestra?" So I said, "You never went to the orchestra?" I said, "Look up Andre Roux." I said, you will see this beautiful orchestra, and he bounces around from different states, etc. Anyway, $1.50. So, the practice of the Sacred Heart, part 3. What is it about? We'll do this for a half an hour. What have I rambled for 15 minutes? Okay. I could have gotten this done if I... Who knows? Perhaps if I don't editorialize, I can get it done. So part 3. I had an interesting week. Trust me when I tell you. The practice. Now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of how to practice the devotion. We know what dispositions are necessary for the devotion. We know what we have to avoid for this devotion. We know what is expected of us for this devotion. Now he's going to tell us how to do it. So if we didn't read the first half of the book, you can do this. You can start at part 3 and not reap the benefits because you don't have a hatred of sin. You don't have a tender devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. You don't visit the Blessed Sacrament. You don't try to receive Holy Communion frequently. You don't have a devotion to St. Margaret Mary, Blessed Claude, and St. Aloysius Gonzaga. You don't practice recollection. Okay, that's all covered in parts 1 and 2. Now we get into the practice. For what motives and with what sentiments we should practice this devotion? As the holiness and merit of our actions depend on the motive for these actions. As the holiness and merit of our actions. Let's say you go and you do something for somebody. I'm going to do this for you. There's a motive for your behavior. If your motive is not for the best motive, which is love of God, it is already beginning at a deficit. And that deficit is the lack of purity and the lack of charity with which you do it. So you might have a fondness for a particular person, and you might have a detestation for another. So you know and I know that if you do something for somebody who likes you, as opposed to doing something for someone who doesn't like you, you know that there is a different merit in that. Christ says, what is it, what merit is there if you do good only to those who like you? So he's explaining that right there. He said, bless those who curse you. Pray for those who persecute you. Right? St. Paul tells us it's like pouring hot coals of fire on their head. And the commentaries are interesting about that particular one as well. Okay. We both know that when somebody is red hot angry at us, we both know. You and I, you who are watching this, or who will watch it, we both know that when somebody wrongs us, they are expecting us to seek revenge or to have a hatred for them. But when we respond with kindness, it does something to them that makes them think. Even though they might respond with, yeah, right. When Christ was on the cross and the Pharisees heard him praying for them, it frightened them. It frightened them because only such goodness could come from God. People know that they are corrupt. We all know it. We know we're corrupt. We know when we're doing wrong because we have a conscience. We do it with knowledge. And so when we get judged, God doesn't tell us anything that we don't know. He doesn't judge us on the things that we did without knowledge. He's judging us on the things that we did which we knew were good and the things that we knew were bad. So we have our good works and our bad works in front of us at the judgment. He's not saying, remember when you did that? You weren't supposed to do that. Oh, that's not what the judgment is. The judgment is, you know what's going on in your judgment. There's no surprises. Okay, so anyway. So as the holiness and merit of our actions depend on the motive for these actions and the spirit in which they are performed, the practice of this most holy devotion to the Sacred Heart will not bear its proper fruit. Please understand, it will not bear its proper fruit if it is not animated by the motive which is essential to the devotion. Stop right there, make a note of this, because this is an absolute. and you always make notes on absolutes because the rest of the information surrounding it accentuates that particular absolute. So, without the proper motive, here's my note on this, without, W/O, without the proper motive. I have a friend who he giggles while I'm working, talking with him. What is that? Without the proper motive, hope and pray that you are doing well there. Thank you, sir. Joseph Roney. Yes, sir. Thank you. Without the proper motive, is the holiness of name. Without the proper motive, please, people, please listen to this. Okay, without the proper motive, devotion to the Sacred Heart. Okay, I will. Without the proper motive, the devotion to the Sacred Heart. Devotion to the Sacred Heart will not. See, this is an absolute, meaning that it's absolutely true. What he's telling us is absolutely true, because he's stating it in such a way. Oh boy. Will not bear its fruit. Okay? There are a lot of promises to the Sacred Heart. What remember the promises to the Sacred Heart. He's telling you those promises will not be fulfilled. The fruits of this devotion will not be fulfilled if you do not practice it with this motive, okay? The motive, as has already been explained, is to make reparation. Okay, big note, motive. I'm writing it all in block letters. Motive. Reparation, big letters. Reparation. It's not about you, it's about him, right? I'm suffering every day. I say, Jesus, and I'm inspired to say, I offer this to you. Actually, one of you helped me do that. Honestly, one of you helped me do that. I'm like, this person is right. Truly. I'm thinking of myself here, and I'm like, you forget. Bishop Sanborn told me yesterday. That's true in all spiritual books. We forget them as shortly after we read it, okay? Motive is reparation. As far as it is in our power, by our love and adoration, and by every kind of homage. Okay, I want to write all of this down. Reparation by what? Is to make reparation. By our love. And how do we love God? Obedience to his commandments. You may not feel, I love. God is not there to be held and touched and hugged. So our love, when we love somebody, we embrace a child. We give them a kiss, right? We love a spouse. Love of God is manifested in obedience to the commandments, okay? Not to be confused with affectionate love. It is true, the theologians say, you may have more affection for a creature than you do for God. You may have more affection for your dog. Not to be confused with a lack of love for God. Jesus says, if you love me, keep my commandments. He didn't say, if you love me, you will have fond sentiments of affection and everything else. But this devotion does promise consolations and sweetness. I'll never forget it. Chapter 1 or 2. Okay, reparation by our love and adoration. And adoration. By our love and adoration, and by every kind of homage, and by each EACH kind of homage, for all the indignities, all the indignities and outrages which Jesus Christ outrages, which Jesus Christ has suffered. Yeah. Okay, watch this. The motive is this. Please write this down in your book, your notepad. What is the motive for the devotion to the Sacred Heart? Because if you don't have this motive, close your books, put it away, and don't watch this. Don't waste your time. So I'm going to wait till those of you who don't have this motive to put it away and just be done with it. The motive for this devotion. Now you might say, why didn't he mention this in book 1? Because he's building you up to this point. The motive, if you've done all of the things, you have a hatred of sin. If it's, I want to get something from God. That's a good motive. That's good. Jesus says, whatsoever you ask when you pray, believe that you shall receive. But the motive for this devotion is to take the Sacred Heart, if you could, and embrace it with your own body and kiss it and say, I'm so sorry that people don't love you, Jesus. I'm so sorry. Picture a person in your life whom you really love. Probably a parent, right? We get so wronged by spouses and children that sometimes the only people for whom we still have a great amount of affection is our parents, especially today, unfortunately. Picture your parent, whoever it is, whom you really love, being so ill-treated and about to die. And you have a moment with them. The people who are so evil give you a moment with this person. What would you do in the last moment to console the person you love? You would cry, first of all. You would go up to them and tell them how much you love them. And you would probably say something like this: I wish I could put myself in your place. I'm so... You probably wouldn't be able to get words out. That is the devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. That's it. Your motive is to console a heart that's being abused, hated, made fun of, neglected, while he's giving everything to all of the people doing this. Sacred Heart devotion requires meditation on the love of God, not only for you who loves God, but more so for all of those who don't love God. And this should inspire you to go to Jesus and say, I'm so sorry that this church is not crowded. I'm so sorry that the Protestants down the block have more people in their churches than here. I'm so sorry that my priest, or somebody I believe is a priest, tells jokes from the altar. In the new church, you see this often. The new Vatican II church. And all the rest of it. And so, this is what I'm talking about. And I give you this example because what would you do for the person you loved who is being abused, neglected, spit upon, and about to be murdered? What would you do? That's how we should think about this heart. And you know, we give hearts out on St. Valentine's Day. Why? It's the symbol of love, right? And so we console this loving heart with affection and prayers and attention. And we go into the church while it's empty and we say, Jesus, I'm here to love you, to visit you. How are you doing? I'm sorry that no one else is here. Maybe they were too busy. They had a cook. They had their sick, whatever. I'm here in their stead to say hello and to thank you. Here's another way you can make reparation. Jesus, I want to make reparation for all of the people who get up after church, after Mass. They look at the priest going into the sacristy and then they run. They literally run to the parking lot. Perhaps they have a reason to run. But since I don't, I'm going to kneel here and say an Our Father in thanksgiving for the communion that he just received. There's a way to make reparation. I see people get up and leave the church. One guy is begging for a miracle, begging for a physical miracle. This is him after the Mass. As soon as the priest enters the door, he gets up, does an about face, and literally runs to the exit. And this guy is praying for a miracle. Father Claude de la Colombière says he's not going to get it. He says, I am afraid that those pilgrimages, those alms, those prayers will not be answered, because they are not seeking first the kingdom of God and his justice, in order that God may fulfill his promise that all these things shall be added unto you. Okay, so we have to know. I suggest reading this book before you do the Sacred Heart book, because the promises of the Sacred Heart are so amazing that one would think, all I got to do is practice this in order to get what I'm looking for. Well, you have to be aware of how to pray and how to obtain what you're asking for. Prayer's a petition. Okay. I suffered. Okay. So the motive, as far as has been explained, is to make reparation as far as we can by our love and adoration and by every kind of homage for all the indignities and outrages which Jesus Christ has suffered in the course of the ages. Time. In the course of time. And which he still suffers today. At the hands of wicked men. Wicked men in the blessed Eucharist. Now, do you hear that? He's not talking about the passion of Christ and everything else. Do you realize that Christ is truly present in the church? And we have to realize that blessed Eucharist, it is with this spirit that these sentiments that we should perform these practices which are here proposed. That is his thesis statement. That is the opening paragraph to chapter 1 of the last part of this book, which I think is the last part 3. That is his thesis statement. Why do we practice devotion to the Sacred Heart of Jesus? If you can't say this, you have to learn how to say it, because you have to know what the motives are for your Sacred Heart devotion. And the reason why we devote ourselves to the Sacred Heart, remember, it's a heart, and the heart is a symbol of love, is to... Here's how a priest explained it to me. I went up to a priest in New York and I said, Father, tell me about reparation. I'm going to play devil's advocate. How do I make reparation to God with my Holy Communion? I don't get it. I needed to hear it again. He said, okay, you see somebody you esteem get insulted, somebody abused, and the person walks away after abusing the other person. You go up and say, listen, I'm really sorry that happened to you. That's it. I'm really sorry. I'm here to... Can I help you? Dust the guy off. He just got roughed up. I'm so sorry. Let me help you. That is reparation. I'm here to say, oh my God, how dare he do this? I love you. That's all we can do. That's all we can do, is to give our love to this heart and say, I love you. How dare they do that to you? And that's why the Sacred Heart prayer, there's one of the prayers that says, would that we could give the act of reparation to the Sacred Heart. I forget which Pope wrote it. But it said, would that we could make reparation with our blood. Do you understand? When we love somebody, what does Jesus say? You love your wife? Die for your wife. How do you die? You shed your blood. Okay? You shed your blood for your wife. Someone's going to persecutors have taken over the church. And what did Herod do? What did Herod do? That dirty criminal king. Get the babies, 2 and under, kill them. They went around, they killed 30,000 babies. Think about putting a sword through a baby. Think about it. And this is what we're doing here. We're going up to this. We're loving with our blood. We're loving with our sacrifices. We're supposed to love our wives, right? So Christ said, love your wife the way I love the church. And how does he love the church? Ultimately, he went on a cross and he shed his blood. That's how much he wants you to love your wife, like this. Selflessly. Here I am, dying for you. Now, he doesn't require the wife to do this, by the way. For those of you who've never meditated on what marital love is, far more is required by the man than by the woman. This is manning up. A man has to do this for his wife. Okay? For those of you men who are weak in your love, you're supposed to give your life for your wife. Okay, so we see the Blessed Eucharist. Jesus Christ is truly present in the Blessed Sacrament, and the church is empty all week, except for the time when he says, you must come. You must come. Okay, church, Mass is at 9 o'clock. 85% of the people get there within 10 minutes of Mass. 15% of the people get there within 3 to 5 minutes of the time of the Mass. Which means what? Most people arrive at the church at the time specified. And this is a law of the church. You must attend Mass on Sundays and holy days. And so the question is, how many people would go to the Mass if the church said you must attend Mass once a month? I'm going to put a number out there. I believe 50% of the people would go to Mass once a month. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Won't be the first time. And you're making reparation for the people with whom you go to Mass. That's my point. And I'm not judging anybody, but we are living in a time when charity for God is so low, that you can become a saint, like, real quick, simply by loving God. You know, one of the things I learned throughout my educational career, not that I went to a small college in Brooklyn. You know, I did what I could. But you know whom the teachers loved the most? The students who read the stuff. Why did the teachers love them? Teachers love to teach. And if you're one of these 18-year-old, 19-year-olds in the class, wearing a hat, your hair is a mess, you're the teacher's worst nightmare. Because if you're not into the subject, the teacher doesn't enjoy what he's doing. He enjoys it when people are listening. And so I said, boy, it's a real easy time to excel in this class. You can practically have a dialogue with the teacher during the class. Nobody else is asking questions. And so I was always a student who asked, I don't understand that point. Now, if everybody did that, the teacher wouldn't have any time for me. You said this is what I would do. You said this, I don't understand the connection. Well, the connection is, and then he would explain it. And after I spoke to my teachers, after I graduated school, they said, you were a very diligent student. And I'd say, how did you notice? One of them said, and just said recently to me, you took the best notes. I remember going to see him after class one day, and he said, you know, you take great notes. Another teacher said that to me too. So, you know, professionals have their way of assessing things, and that was what they said of me. So I don't like things getting past me, because I notice, you know, we all learn at a certain pace and a certain attention. And so if you don't make notes it will. I was told in college, my first year of college, that 15% of a lecture will be retained. 15%. And so I believe you will augment that percentage if you make notes and you study those notes. Anyway, that's why we make these notes. That's why we emphasize this. So you should start living your day. If you face an annoyance, even if you face a pleasure, like taking a nap, taking a break, eating a nice meal, or being denied the eating of a nice meal, you do it all in a spirit of reparation. Here's how you can make reparation. I got to run to Mass. I got plenty of time. I'm just saying I got to go. Jesus, I love this meal. And I want to make reparation for those who are ungrateful for the food they're eating. You can do everything in a spirit of reparation. Jesus, I enjoy this beautiful day. I offer this in a spirit of reparation for those who do not take the moment to look up and say, look at the order of the beautiful sky, the color of the blue, the white clouds, the moon that you can vaguely see in the distance. Look at the beauty and give thanks. I give thanks that I have peace in my country, peace in my day, health of my body to enjoy this beautiful thing. That's reparation for the lack of gratitude, which is a child of justice. Gratitude is necessary to fulfill justice. In the preface to the Mass, it says, it is truly meet and just to give thanks to the